The baby was only 30 days old, and no one could imagine what the nanny's daughter would do. While adults had lost faith in the newborn's life, a child was secretly left beside him. What this girl did in silence changed the baby's condition before everyone's eyes. And it raised an uncomfortable question: how far does medicine go when love arrives first? Rain was falling over Park Avenue that June afternoon, turning New York City into a grey blur of lights and honking horns. Marina held tightly to the hand of Sophia, her 6-year-old daughter, as she climbed the steps of the residential building on the Upper East Side. The address was jotted down on a crumpled piece of paper inside her worn-out purse, along with the last $50 she had left for the month. This was her last chance. The last interview after so many closed doors, so many suspicious glances, when she mentioned she had a young daughter. Marina had learned to hide that information, but the inevitable question always came, and with it, the polite refusal, the fake smile, the "we'll be in touch" that never came. This time would be different. It had to be. The apartment was on the 12th floor. Marina rang the doorbell and waited, feeling her heart race. Sophia tugged on the hem of her blouse, her big dark eyes fixed on her mother's face, as if she could read all the uncertainties Marina was trying to hide. The door opened, and a middle-aged woman appeared. She wore an impeccable business suit, her hair tied in an elegant bun. Her gaze swept over Marina from head to toe in a silent evaluation that lasted only seconds, but felt like an eternity. "Marina?" the woman asked, without smiling. "Yes, ma'am. I'm here for the interview. We spoke on the phone." "Come in." The woman stepped back, opening the door just enough for them to pass. Marina walked through the luxurious foyer, holding Sophia's hand. The apartment was immense, decorated with a refined taste that seemed straight out of an architectural magazine. Works of art on the walls, designer furniture, a crystal chandelier. That reflected the light in tiny rainbows on the marble floor. The woman led them to a smaller, more formal room and gestured to the sofa. Marina sat on the edge, stiff, while Sophia remained standing by her side, silent and watchful. "My name is Eleanor," the woman said, finally introducing herself. "I'm Michael's aunt. I handle the practical matters of the house since his mother left." Marina nodded, not knowing exactly what to say. The word "left" echoed strangely in her mind, but she didn't ask. She had learned not to ask too many questions in interviews. "I need someone to take care of my nephew," Eleanor continued, crossing her legs and smoothing her skirt with mechanical gestures. "He has special needs. He requires constant attention, total dedication. It's not an easy job." Marina swallowed hard. "I understand. I have experience with caregiving. I worked at a clinic before, helping with patients who needed special attention." "That wasn't on your resume." "Because it was off the books, ma'am. But I can get references." Eleanor sighed, as if that were a minor detail in the face of bigger problems. She looked at Sophia again, and this time her gaze lingered, longer. "You have a daughter." It wasn't a question. It was a statement that sounded like an accusation. "Yes, I do," Marina said, lifting her chin. "But it won't interfere with my work. She's quiet, obedient. I can leave her with someone during my shift." Eleanor watched her for a long moment. Then she sighed again, as if making a decision against her own will. "The job is a live-in position. You would stay here from Monday to Saturday. You'd have a room in the back. The pay is good, above market rate, but in return I expect total commitment." Marina felt the floor drop out from under her. Live-in. It meant leaving Sophia. It meant being separated from her for the entire week. How could she accept that? But then she remembered the overdue electric bill, the late rent, the landlord threatening eviction. She remembered the nights they shared a single piece of bread because there was nothing else. She remembered Sophia asking for a new notebook for school and her having to say no once again. "I accept," she heard her own voice say. Eleanor raised an eyebrow. "Good, you can start tomorrow. Bring your belongings. The room is simple, but it has the basics." Marina nodded, squeezing Sophia's hand. She could feel the little girl trembling slightly, and she knew that she understood, even without words, what this meant. "Do you want to meet Michael?" Eleanor asked, standing up. Marina nodded. She followed the woman down a wide hallway, Sophia glued to her side. They passed several rooms until they reached a door at the end, slightly ajar. Eleanor knocked lightly and pushed the door open. The room was both cozy and oppressive. There were toys scattered on the shelves, but they all looked untouched, too new. The curtains were drawn, blocking the natural light. In the center was a hospital bed, surrounded by medical equipment that emitted soft, rhythmic sounds. And there, between white sheets, was Michael. Marina felt her chest tighten. The boy couldn't have been more than 8, maybe 9. His face was pale, almost translucent, his eyes closed, his lips slightly blue. Tubes ran from his arms, and a heart monitor blinked green beside the bed. "He sleeps a lot," Eleanor said, her voice suddenly softer. "The medication, and he gets tired easily." Marina approached slowly, as if any sudden movement could break. Something fragile. She watched the boy's chest rise and fall in an irregular rhythm, saw his thin, delicate fingers resting on the sheet. "Hi, Michael," she whispered. The boy didn't respond. He didn't even stir. "He won't react," Eleanor said. "He's used to strangers. He's had so many caregivers that he's stopped responding. He just does what's necessary. Eats when he has to, takes his medicine, sleeps. Nothing more." Marina felt a deep sadness wash over her. She knew that empty look, that absence. It wasn't just fatigue, it was resignation. Sophia, who had been quiet until then, let go of Marina's hand and took a few steps toward the bed. Eleanor opened her mouth to stop her, but Marina made a silent gesture, asking for calm. The girl stopped beside Michael and tilted her head, observing him with genuine curiosity. Then she reached out and lightly touched his fingers. "Hi," Sophia said, her voice clear and sweet. "I'm Sophia. Are you tired?" Michael slowly opened his eyes. They were large, brown, and deep. He looked at Sophia without expression, but he didn't look away. Sophia smiled. "I get tired sometimes, too. My mom says it's because I'm growing so fast." Eleanor cleared her throat, clearly uncomfortable. "I think it's best not to disturb him. He needs to rest." Marina agreed and called Sophia back. The girl obeyed, but before leaving she waved to Michael. "Bye. See you again." Marina didn't know if she imagined it, but it seemed to her that the corner of Michael's lips curved slightly, as if trying to return the smile. Marina started the next day. She arrived early, with a small suitcase containing her few clothes and belongings. The room in the back was indeed simple. A single bed, an old wardrobe, a window. That looked out onto an inner courtyard. But it was clean, had an attached bathroom, and was infinitely better than the run-down apartment where they had lived before. The problem was Sophia. Marina had no one to leave her with. The neighbor who sometimes helped had moved away. The public daycare had a waiting list. There was no family, no close friends. There was only one option left. That first night, after Eleanor left and the apartment fell silent, Marina slipped out and went to get Sophia. The girl was waiting in the lobby with her backpack on, just as they had planned. "We have to be quiet going up, okay?" Marina whispered. Sophia nodded seriously. She was a child who understood the gravity of situations, who knew when it was time to play and when it was time to be invisible. They took the service elevator and went straight to the back room. Marina made a makeshift bed on the floor, using old blankets she found in a closet. It wasn't comfortable, but it would do. "You need to stay in here during the day," Marina explained, kneeling down to her daughter's level. "Without making any noise, you can. Read, draw, play quietly, but you can't leave this room, understand? What if I have to go to the bathroom? You can go, but be quick, and only if no one is around." Sophia nodded again, her eyes shining with unshed tears. She understood. She always understood. Marina hugged her tightly, feeling her heart break. "I'll take care of you, I promise. This is just temporary, until we can get on our feet." "I know, Mom." In the following days, Marina established a routine. She woke up early, prepared Michael's breakfast, administered his medication, and checked his vital signs. The boy rarely spoke. He accepted everything passively, as if he were just following protocols. But whenever Marina entered the room, Michael's eyes would search for something, and she knew what. Or rather, who. Sophia remained hidden during the day, as quiet as a mouse. But in the early morning hours before Eleanor arrived, and in the late afternoon when the house was empty, Marina allowed her daughter to move around. And it was during one of those moments, on a rainy Thursday afternoon, that everything changed. Michael was in his wheelchair by the window, watching the rain fall. Marina was organizing his medication on the side table when Sophia appeared at the bedroom door, holding a children's storybook. Marina started to send her away, but Sophia had already entered. "Can I read to him?" she asked, pointing to Michael. Marina hesitated. She looked at the boy who was watching Sophia with those large, empty eyes. "You can," Marina said finally. "But just for a little while." Sophia pulled up a small chair and sat next to Michael. She opened the book and began to read, her voice modulated and full of emotion, as if she were telling the world's greatest secret. It was the story of a prince who lived in a high tower, waiting for someone to come and save him. Sophia read slowly, showing him the pictures, making different voices for each character. Michael remained motionless for most of the story. But when Sophia reached the end, when the prince finally found his freedom, he blinked, and a single tear rolled down his cheek. Sophia closed the book and looked at him seriously. "You'll find it too," she said, with a certainty Marina didn't know where it came from. "Everyone does, you just have to wait for the right person to come along." Michael didn't answer, but for the first time since Marina had arrived, he didn't look away, and in that silence, something shifted, something small, but real. Marina watched from the doorway, her heart aching. She knew this was dangerous, that if Eleanor found out about Sophia, she would lose her job, that they were walking a tightrope over an abyss. But looking at Michael's face, seeing that faint glimmer in his previously dull eyes, Marina made a decision. It would be worth the risk. The following weeks transformed the routine of that house in ways Marina had never imagined. What began as a calculated risk, a necessity disguised as courage, revealed itself to be something much greater than mere survival. Sophia and Michael created a world of their own. In the early morning hours, when the apartment was still asleep, and in the afternoons when Eleanor was out running family errands, the girl would sit beside the boy and invent entire universes with words and gestures. The machines surrounding Michael ceased to be prisons and became spaceships. The tubes were rivers carrying hidden treasures. The blinking lights of the monitors were stars in distant constellations. Marina watched it all with a mixture of wonder and fear. Wonder because she saw Michael reacting, slowly but consistently. His eyes were no longer so empty. He began to look forward to Sophia's visits, and when she appeared, a faint smile would touch his lips. Fear because she knew it couldn't last forever. Sooner or later, someone would find out. It was Raphael who found out first. He was Michael's father, though it took Marina days to fully understand who this tall man, with broad shoulders and a distant gaze was, who moved through the apartment like a ghost. Raphael would arrive late at night, straight from work, enter his son's room, stand there in silence for a few minutes, and then lock himself in his own room. He rarely spoke to Marina. He barely looked at her. Eleanor had explained, in a rare moment of confidence, that Raphael worked too much, that he had thrown himself into his work after Michael's mother left, that it was the only way he could cope. Marina understood. She knew that kind of escape all too well. She herself had run from many things in her life, but one Friday Raphael came, home early. Marina was in Michael's room organizing his evening medications when she heard voices from the hallway. She recognized Raphael's deep voice and Sophia's high-pitched, childish tone. Her heart pounded. She ran out of the room, but it was too late. In the hallway, Sophia was standing before Raphael, holding a drawing in her hands. The man was looking at the girl with an expression somewhere between surprise and confusion. "Who are you?" Raphael asked, and there was weariness in his voice, but not anger. "I'm Sophia," the girl answered matter-of-factly. "I made a drawing for Michael. Want to see?" Before Raphael could answer, Marina appeared breathless. "Mr. Thompson, I can explain." Raphael looked from Marina to Sophia and back to Marina. His eyes, which had once seemed so distant, now held an intensity Marina couldn't decipher. "She's your daughter," he said. It wasn't a question. "She is," Marina replied, lowering her head. "I know I should have told you. I know I broke the house rules. If you want to let me go, I understand. I just ask that you give me until Monday to get my things in order." Raphael remained silent for a long moment. Sophia stood there between them, holding the drawing as if it were the most important thing in the world. "How long has she been here?" Raphael finally asked. "Since the beginning. I had no one to leave her with. I tried to be discreet, tried not to be a bother. She stays quiet in the room, she doesn't make a mess." Raphael ran a hand over his face, a gesture of deep exhaustion. Then he looked at Sophia again. "You spend time with Michael?" Sophia nodded excitedly. "I read stories to him and we play. He likes it when I pretend. The machines are spaceships. Yesterday we traveled to Jupiter. For the first time in weeks, Marina saw something cross Raphael's face. It wasn't anger. It was something more complex. Surprise, perhaps, or recognition. "Does he talk to you?" Raphael asked, his voice low. "Not much," Sophia replied, "but he smiles, and when I tell stories he pays attention. You can see it in his eyes." Raphael knelt, bringing himself to the girl's level. Up close, Marina could see his face better. It bore the marks of sleepless nights, wrinkles that didn't match his age. But there was also a hidden handsomeness there, a dignity that hadn't been completely erased. "Can I see the drawing?" Raphael asked. Sophia held out the paper. It was a simple drawing, made with colored pencils. It showed two children, one in a wheelchair, the other beside him, holding his hand. Above them, a sky full of stars. Raphael looked at the drawing for a long time. Then he handed it back to Sophia. "I think Michael will like this very much," he said, and his voice was strangely thick with emotion. He stood up and looked at Marina. "You don't have to hide her. If she's good for my son, then she can stay." Marina felt her legs go weak with relief. "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much." Raphael nodded, but said nothing more. He went into Michael's room, and Sophia followed him naturally, as if she had always belonged there. Marina leaned against the hallway wall, trying to calm her heart. She had cleared the first hurdle, but she knew others would come, and they came sooner than she expected. It was Eleanor who brought the news, on a rainy Monday. Raphael's mother, Mrs. Gloria, was coming to visit. She was Michael's maternal grandmother, a woman Marina knew only from photos scattered around the house and from the stories Eleanor told in a tone of reverence and fear. "Gloria is not an easy woman," Eleanor warned, as she inspected every room in the apartment. "She has very high standards. I expect everything to be perfect." Marina worked all day to ensure every detail was impeccable. She cleaned, organized, and prepared Michael's favorite food. Even Sophia helped, tidying up the boys' toys and putting everything in order. When the doorbell rang at 3 in the afternoon, Marina felt a knot in her stomach. Gloria. Thompson entered the apartment like a queen inspecting her kingdom. She was a tall, elegant woman, with perfectly coiffed grey hair and a string of pearls around her neck. Her eyes scanned every corner with clinical precision. Raphael greeted her with a formal hug. "Mother, I'm glad you could make it." "I came to see my grandson," she replied without smiling. "I hear he's getting worse." "He's not getting worse," Raphael corrected. "He's stable." Gloria didn't respond. She went straight to Michael's room, followed by Eleanor. Marina stayed behind but could overhear the conversation. "Michael, my love, how are you?" Gloria's voice was soft, but there was something artificial about it, like a rehearsed script. "I'm okay, Grandma," Michael answered, his voice low. "Marina, bring some juice for Mrs. Thompson," Eleanor called out. When Marina entered the room with the tray, Gloria looked her up and down the same way Eleanor had on the first day, but there was something more in her gaze: suspicion, contempt. "You're the new caregiver," Gloria said. "Yes, ma'am. Marina." "Where are you from?" "New York. Born and raised." "What borough?" Marina hesitated. She knew the answer mattered. "Queens." The silence that followed was eloquent. Gloria exchanged a look with Eleanor, a look Marina knew well. It was the look that said, "You don't belong here." It was then that Sophia appeared at the door. She didn't know there were visitors. She was just looking for her mother. But upon seeing the room full of people, she stopped, startled. "Who is this child?" Gloria asked, frowning. "She's Marina's daughter," Raphael explained before Eleanor could speak. "She lives here too." "Lives here?" Gloria's voice rose an octave. "Since when do we allow staff to bring their families into the house?" "Since I realized her presence." "'Is good for Michael," Raphael replied, and there was firmness in his voice. Gloria looked at her son in disbelief, then at Michael. "Is that true, Michael? Does this girl keep you company?" Michael looked at Sophia, who was still standing in the doorway, then at his grandmother. "She's my friend," he said, with a conviction that surprised everyone. Gloria opened her mouth to respond, but was interrupted by her own heartfelt granddaughter. Sophia, sensing the tension, took a few steps into the room and held out her hand. "Hi, I'm Sophia. It's nice to meet you." Gloria looked at the outstretched hand as if it were contaminated. She didn't shake it. "How convenient," she said, her voice icy. "A caregiver who brings her daughter to befriend the sick rich boy. I can only imagine the intentions behind that." Marina felt the blood rush to her head. "Ma'am, it's nothing like that. I would never—" "Of course not," Gloria interrupted. "It never is. But I'll be watching, and I suggest you do the same, Raphael. People like that always have ulterior motives." She stormed out of the room, leaving a heavy silence behind. Marina was trembling. Sophia came back to her side, holding her hand. Raphael remained by Michael's bed, his hands in his pockets, his face unreadable. "I'm sorry," Marina said, her voice choked. "I didn't mean to cause trouble." "You didn't cause any trouble," Raphael answered. "My mother is complicated, always has been." But Gloria wasn't satisfied with just a visit. In the following days, her appearances became constant. She would arrive unannounced, always with some excuse. She brought expensive gifts for Michael, watched everything with hawk-like eyes, and made subtle comments about the inappropriateness of certain people being there. And then, one Thursday, Marina realized she was being followed. It was a middle-aged woman, dressed discreetly, who appeared in the most unlikely places. At the market where Marina did her shopping, at the park where she took Sophia on Sundays, even in the building's lobby, pretending to wait for someone. Marina felt a chill. She knew what it meant. Gloria had hired someone to investigate her, and it would soon become clear that Marina's past was not simple. There were things she preferred to leave buried, things that, if they came to light, could destroy everything she was trying to build. But for now, Marina continued her routine. She cared for Michael with dedication, watching the boy slowly transform under the influence of Sophia's friendship. She saw Raphael start to spend more time at home, watching the two of them play, allowing himself a small smile when Sophia made up a particularly absurd story. And on quiet nights when everyone was asleep, Marina allowed herself to dream. To dream that maybe, just maybe, this place could become a home. Not just for Sophia, but for her too. But dreams are fragile, and the past she knew never stays buried forever. The investigator's name was Patricia. Marina found this out one afternoon when the woman made a mistake, dropping her wallet while pretending to window shop on the same street as Sophia's school. Marina picked up the wallet before she could and saw the name printed on the driver's license. Patricia Miller, private investigator. She returned the ID without a word, but their eyes met, and in that instant they both knew the game had changed. It was no longer a discreet tale. It was an open, albeit silent, war. That night, Marina couldn't sleep. She lay in the small back room, watching Sophia sleep on the makeshift bed, and thought about all the things Patricia could uncover. She thought about Tyler, the violent ex-partner she had fled years ago. She thought about the nights in temporary shelters, the police reports that were never properly filed because she was too afraid to press charges. She thought about the old photos, from a time when she was so desperate she accepted help from the wrong people. None of it defined who she was now, but she knew that in the right hands, or rather the wrong ones, it could all be twisted, turned into a weapon, and she was right. 2 weeks Later, Gloria showed up at the apartment again, but this time she wasn't alone. She brought a manila envelope and an expression of victory she didn't try to hide. Raphael was in the living room, working on his laptop. He looked up when his mother entered, and his face immediately hardened. "Mother, you didn't tell me you were coming." "I didn't need to. This is still my family's home." Gloria sat on the sofa across from him and placed the envelope on the coffee table with a dramatic flourish. "You need to see this," she said. "What is it?" "Information about the woman you've allowed into your home, the woman who takes care of your son, the woman you apparently trust blindly." Raphael glanced at the envelope, but made no move to pick it up. "I didn't ask you to investigate Marina." "You didn't have to. Someone had to have some common sense in this house, and when you see what's in here, you'll thank me." Raphael sighed, picked up the envelope, and opened it. Marina, who was passing by in the hallway, stopped when she heard the conversation. Her heart pounded. She knew what was in that envelope before. She even saw it. She stood there, hidden behind the wall, listening. "She has a history with a violent man," Gloria began, ticking off points as if reading a grocery list. "She was arrested twice for disturbing the peace, lived in public shelters. There are photos of her at inappropriate parties, with people of questionable reputation. And that's just the surface. Who knows what else she's hiding?" Raphael flipped through the papers in silence. Marina couldn't see his expression, but his silence was worse than any accusation. "Do you see now?" Gloria pressed. "This woman is not trustworthy. She could be here for any number of reasons. She could be waiting for the right moment to take advantage. And you allowed her daughter to get close to Michael, a child who comes from that kind of environment." "Enough," Raphael said, his voice low but filled with restrained anger. "Enough what? Enough protecting my grandson? Enough judging people you don't even know?" "I know enough. It's all right here, in black and white." "And you think this defines who she is? You think that because she went through hard times, because she had to survive in conditions you can't even imagine, that makes her a bad person?" Gloria lifted her chin, indignant. "This isn't about being good or bad. It's about protection. It's about keeping suitable people around Michael. Suitable according to what criteria? Money, status, last name?" "Raphael, you're being irrational." "No, Mother. What's irrational is you thinking you have the right to control everyone and everything. Marina takes better care of Michael than any caregiver we've ever had, and Sophia, that little girl you despise so much, has brought something into my son's life that I thought he'd never have again. Joy." Gloria stood up, trembling with indignation. "You'll regret this, Raphael. When this woman shows her true colors, you'll regret it." She slammed the door on her way out, leaving the envelope on the table. Marina was still in the hallway, her hands shaking, when Raphael appeared. He stopped when he saw her, and for a moment they just stood there looking at each other. "You heard," he said. "I heard." Raphael ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of exhaustion Marina had come to recognize. "I don't care what's in that envelope," he said. "We all have a past. What matters is who you are now." Marina felt her eyes burn. "Mr. Thompson, I never meant to deceive anyone. Everything I did was to survive, to protect my daughter. I know. I see it every day. I see how you care for Michael. I see how Sophia looks at him, without pity, without fear, just with genuine friendship, and that's worth more than any investigation report." Marina nodded, unable to speak. Raphael moved closer, and for the first time since she'd arrived, touched her shoulder. It was a light touch, but it carried immense weight. "You don't have to justify yourself to me," he said. "Or to my mother. You're here because you deserve to be." That night Marina allowed herself to cry, not from sadness but from relief. For a moment, just for a moment, she felt like she could breathe, but the war was far from over. Gloria intensified her efforts. The visits became daily. She brought extravagant gifts for Michael, always in Sophia's presence, making clear the contrast between what she could offer and what the poor girl never could. She made veiled comments about education, about values, about the importance of associating with people of the same social class. Michael, however, remained indifferent. The expensive gifts sat untouched on the shelves. It was Sophia he wanted to play with, her stories he wanted to hear, and that infuriated Gloria more than anything. It was in the early hours of a Monday morning that everything changed again. Michael had a severe respiratory crisis. Marina woke to the sound of the monitor's alarm and rushed to his room. The boy was pale, his lips blue, struggling to breathe. His eyes were wide with panic. Marina activated the emergency protocol the doctors had taught her, but nothing was working. Michael was growing more and more desperate, and the desperation worsened his shortness of breath. Raphael appeared, already dialing 911. Eleanor arrived soon after, also in a panic, and then Sophia entered the room. No one had called her. She just appeared, still in her pajamas, her eyes sleepy but alert. She approached the bed and took Michael's hand. "Hey," she whispered. "Look at me." Michael tried to focus on her, still gasping for air. "Breathe with me, okay? Let's do it like that game we made up. Remember?" Sophia began to breathe in an exaggerated way, counting out loud. 1, 2, 3, breathe in. 1, 2, 3, breathe out. It's like riding the waves, remember? We go up and down, up and down. Marina watched in disbelief. Raphael ended the call, also watching. Michael tried to follow Sophia's rhythm. At first, his breathing was ragged, desperate. But slowly, guided by the girl's calm voice, he began to sync up. "That's it," Sophia encouraged. "Now imagine you're on the boat. The sea is rough, but you know how to swim. You always have. You just need to remember." She continued to hold his hand, breathing with him, humming a little tune she made up on the spot. It took 10 minutes that felt like hours. But when the monitor finally showed that Michael's heart rate was stabilizing, when his breathing became regular again, Sophia smiled. "See? You did it." Michael, exhausted, just squeezed her hand. Raphael had tears in his eyes. So did Marina. Even Eleanor, always so composed, was visibly shaken. "How did you do that?" Raphael asked, looking at Sophia. The girl shrugged. "We practiced. I taught him that when things get really bad, we have to find a good picture in our head, like a safe place, and breathe while thinking about that place." Raphael knelt in front of Sophia. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved my son." Sophia smiled shyly. "He's my friend. That's what friends do." The next morning, Patricia, the investigator, showed up at the apartment door. But not to deliver more reports to Gloria. She asked to speak with Raphael. "I was there last night," Patricia said, getting straight to the point. "I was doing external surveillance, as I was hired to do. I saw everything through the window. I saw what the little girl did." Raphael looked at her, not understanding where this was going. Patricia took a deep breath. "I was paid to find dirt, to prove that Marina was unsuitable, dangerous. And yes, I found things. But I also found context. I found a woman who fled an abusive relationship to protect her daughter. A woman who worked 3 different jobs trying to get back on her feet. A woman who never gave up." She handed an envelope to Raphael. "This was the report I was supposed to give to Mrs. Thompson. But I'm not going to, because it would be dishonest. What I saw last night doesn't fit in any report. That girl, that caregiver, they're not here for personal gain. They're here for love." Raphael took the envelope, but didn't open it. "Thank you." Patricia nodded. "Just one more thing. Gloria won't give up. She'll find another way to attack. You need to be prepared." "I will be." When Patricia left, Raphael stood there holding the envelope. Marina, who had heard everything from the kitchen, appeared in the living room. "You don't have to open that," she said. "I know," Raphael replied, "because I trust you." And then, for the first time since they had met, they smiled at each other. A small but genuine smile. Outside, Gloria was plotting her next move. But inside that house, something stronger was growing, something that all the money and power in the world couldn't destroy. Hope. The weeks that followed were a period of tense calm, like the eye of a hurricane. Gloria had temporarily retreated, but Raphael knew it was only a matter of time before she returned with a new strategy. Meanwhile, life in the apartment took on new contours. Raphael started coming home from work earlier. He began to have dinner at home, something he hadn't done in months. He would sit at the table with Marina, Sophia, and Michael when the boy felt up to it, and for the first time in a long time, that apartment sounded like a home. Marina noticed the changes in him, the way Raphael looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching, the small gestures of care, like when he brought a warmer blanket for her room because he noticed Sophia complaining about the cold at night, the way he lingered in the kitchen after dinner, making up excuses to talk for a few more minutes, and she, who had sworn never to trust anyone again after Tyler, felt her heart soften. She fought against it, telling herself it was dangerous, that she was crossing lines she shouldn't. But it was hard to resist when Raphael smiled, when he played with Sophia, when he held her hand for a second longer than necessary while handing her something. It was Sophia who noticed first, with the clarity that only children possess. "You like him, don't you, Mum?" she asked one night as they were getting ready for bed. Marina felt her cheeks burn. "What are you talking about?" "Uncle. Raphael, you look at him the same way you look at me when you think I'm asleep." Marina sighed. "It's complicated, Sophia." "Why? He's nice, and he looks at you too." "Because we're very different. He comes from a rich, important family, and we're nice just the way we are," Sophia completed with simplicity. "Michael doesn't care about those things." "Why do you?" Marina hugged her daughter, not knowing what to say. Because the world wasn't as simple as Sophia thought. But she kept those words to herself. Meanwhile, Michael was getting worse. It wasn't sudden, it was small signs that accumulated. He slept more, ate less. The respiratory crises became more frequent even with Sophia nearby. The doctors came more regularly, and their expressions grew increasingly grave. One Thursday, the doctor called Raphael for a private conversation. Marina didn't hear what was said, but she saw Raphael leave the room with a pale face, his shoulders slumped as if carrying an impossible weight. He went straight to his own room and closed the door. Marina waited a few minutes, then knocked lightly. "Raphael?" Silence. "Can I come in?" The door opened. Raphael was sitting on the edge of the bed, his hands covering his face. When he looked at her, Marina saw tears in his eyes. "The doctor said there's nothing more they can do," Raphael said, his voice broken. "He said it's a matter of time. Weeks. Maybe days." Marina felt the floor disappear beneath her. She sat beside him, not knowing what to say. There were no words for this. "I tried everything," Raphael continued. "All the treatments, all the specialists. I spent a fortune. I prayed to gods I don't even believe in, and nothing worked." The tears were flowing freely now. Marina, on impulse, took his hand. "You did everything you could," she said, "and look what you gave him. In these last few months, Michael was happy. He smiled, he played, he had a real friend. That's worth more than any treatment." Raphael squeezed her hand. "I tried to contact his mother. I thought she would want to know to say goodbye, but she refused to come back. Said she couldn't bear to see it." Anger shot through Marina's chest, but she swallowed the harsh words she wanted to say. It wasn't the time. "Then we'll be here," she said. "Me, you, Sophia. We'll make him feel loved until the end." Raphael looked at her, and in his gaze there was gratitude, sadness, and something more. Something Marina didn't dare to name. "Thank you for being here," he said. "Thank you for not giving up." "I would never give up," Marina replied. They sat there, side by side, hands intertwined, as the world collapsed around them. The following days were the hardest. Michael was conscious, but weak. He asked for small things, a story, a glass of water, Sophia's presence. The girl began to sleep in his room, in a chair, by the bed holding his hand. She invented increasingly elaborate stories about brave princes who traveled to distant lands, about calm seas where there was no pain, and Michael listened with a faint smile on his lips. One afternoon, he asked to speak with Sophia alone. Marina and Raphael left the room, leaving the two children by themselves. They didn't know what was said in there, but when Sophia came out, she was holding a small, old, worn-out toy car that Michael kept under his pillow. He said, "It's mine now," Sophia explained, tears streaming down her face. He said, "I have to take good care of it, because it will always protect me." Marina hugged her daughter, feeling her heart break. It was in the early hours of a Sunday morning that Michael passed away. Marina was in the room, keeping Raphael company, who hadn't left his son's side. Sophia was asleep in the chair next to them. The heart monitor emitted its rhythmic, constant beep. And then, slowly, the rhythm began to slow down. Raphael noticed first. He held Michael's hand, leaning over him. Michael opened his eyes, and for the first time in days they seemed clear, focused. "Dad," he whispered. "I'm here, son." "Thank you." Raphael couldn't answer. Tears silenced any words. Michael looked at Sophia, who had woken up with the movement. She came closer, holding the toy car. "I'll take good care of it," she promised. Michael smiled. "I know." He closed his eyes slowly. The monitor emitted a long, continuous tone. And so, surrounded by the people who truly loved him, Michael found his peace. The grief that followed was different from what Marina had expected. Raphael didn't shut down. On the contrary, he allowed himself to feel everything. He cried openly, talked about Michael, about the memories, about the pain. And Marina was there by his side, holding his hand when the tears came, offering coffee during sleepless nights, just being present. It was Gloria who wanted to take charge of the funeral. She arrived with a guest list, suggestions for the ceremony, imported flowers. She wanted to turn the farewell into a social event. Raphael refused everything. "The funeral will be small," he said firmly. "Just the people who truly loved Michael." Gloria was furious. "You can't exclude me from my own grandson's funeral." "I'm not excluding you, but I'm not turning his memorial into a spectacle." The ceremony took place on a Tuesday morning, in a small, discreet chapel. Raphael, Marina, Sophia, Eleanor, Patricia, and a few true friends were present. Gloria showed up, but remained silent at the back of the chapel. Raphael read a text he had written the night before. He spoke about Michael, about his courage, about how in his last months the boy taught everyone the meaning of living fully, even when time was short. Sophia placed the toy car in the casket as a final gift, a final symbol of friendship. When it was all over, when everyone had left, Raphael asked to speak with Gloria. "Mother, I need you to understand something. Marina and Sophia are part of my life now. They are part of the family I've chosen to build. If you can't respect that, then we can't have a relationship." Gloria looked at her son for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, her eyes filled with tears. "I just wanted to protect you. To protect Michael." "I know. But protection isn't control, and status isn't love." Gloria nodded slowly. She left the chapel in silence, and Raphael knew it would take time. But maybe one day she would understand. The following months were about rebuilding. Raphael began the legal process to officially adopt Sophia. Marina no longer had to hide. Her room in the back was renovated, expanded. She was no longer just the caregiver. She was part of the family. And slowly, very slowly, Raphael and Marina allowed the feeling between them to grow. It wasn't easy. There was guilt, fear, insecurities. But there was also a genuine connection, built on respect, trust, and true love. Sophia was the first to celebrate. "Finally," she said with a huge smile. "Took you. Long enough, huh?" A year later, a new child was born. A boy named Michael, in honor of the brother he never knew, but whose story would be told to him from the very beginning. Michael's room remained untouched, not as a shrine, but as a living memory. The walls were painted light blue, and on the shelf the toy car that Sophia had returned held a place of honor. Sophia, now 9, had a habit of going in there and telling stories to her younger brother. The same stories she told Michael, about spaceships and calm seas, about courage and hope. And little Michael would listen, with wide eyes, as if he could feel the presence of the brother who had passed, protecting them all from heaven. Raphael planted a tree in the garden of the new house they moved into, a smaller, cozier house where social differences no longer mattered. It was a golden rain tree which bloomed every year in September, filling the garden with color and life. Marina, now Raphael's wife, would sometimes stand in front of the tree, remembering everything they had been through. How pain had brought them together, how love had kept them united. That family was born from the improbable, from a desperate mother and a brave girl, from a boy who taught that time doesn't measure the impact of a life, from a father who learned that love has no social class. And when the wind rustled the leaves of the golden rain tree, Marina swore she could hear Michael's laughter, mixed with the sound of Sophia's games and the baby's cries. Life went on. The pain remained, but transformed into gratitude. And in that house, built on the rubble of inequality and prejudice, something rare and precious flourished. A true family, united not by blood or by name, but by the daily choice to love, to be present, to honor the memory of the one who departed by loving even more those who stayed. The peace Marina and Raphael had built in the following months was as fragile as glass. They both knew it, but they chose to live each day as if it were eternal, as if nothing could shake the family they had formed from the ashes of pain. Little Michael was 4 months old when the first crack appeared. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and Marina was preparing lunch while Sophia helped pack some belongings for the final move to the new house. The phone rang. Raphael answered in the living room, and Marina only heard muffled murmurs, but the silence that followed was all too eloquent. When Raphael entered the kitchen, his face was pale. "It was Camilla," he said, his voice strained. Marina felt the ground tremble. Camilla, Michael's biological mother, the woman who had abandoned her sick son, who had refused to return even to say goodbye, the woman Raphael had tried to erase from his memory. "What did she want?" Marina asked, trying to keep her voice calm. "She wants to see us, said she needs to talk, that she has something important to say." Marina dropped the spoon she was holding. "Are you going to see her?" Raphael ran his hands over his face, that gesture of exhaustion Marina knew so well. "I don't know. Part of me wants to tell her to go to hell, but another part needs to understand, needs to know why she did what she did." Marina approached him, holding his hands. "Whatever you decide, I'll be by your side." Raphael pulled her into a tight hug. "I know, it's one of the few certainties I have left." The meeting was set for the following Saturday, at a discreet cafe in Soho. Raphael insisted that Marina come along. "I need you there," he said. "I need your strength." When they arrived, Camilla was already sitting at a table in the back. Marina recognized her from the photos she had seen around the house, but the woman before her was a faded version of those images. Her face was thinner, with deep dark circles under her eyes, her hands trembling slightly as she held her coffee cup. "Raphael," Camilla said when she saw them, her voice thick with emotion. "Camilla," Raphael replied formally. "This is Marina." Camilla looked at Marina with a complex expression, fear, perhaps, or shame. "A pleasure." They sat down. The silence was heavy, awkward. It was Camilla who finally broke it. "I know I have no right to be here. I know I abandoned you when you needed me most. But I need to explain. I need you to understand." Raphael crossed his arms. "Then explain." Camilla took a deep breath, tears already streaming down her face. "When Michael was born sick, I fell apart. I couldn't handle it. I watched my son waste away day after day, and every look from him felt like an accusation. I felt guilty, as if my body had failed to protect him." Marina felt a pang of empathy, but remained silent. "I started therapy," Camilla continued. "I was diagnosed with severe depression. The doctors had me hospitalized for a while. When I got out, you had already moved, and I didn't have the courage to look for you. I thought it would be better for everyone if I just disappeared." "So why come back now?" Raphael asked, his voice hard. Camilla looked directly at him. "Because I'm better, because I've had a year of intensive treatment, and because I found out our son passed away." The phrase "passed away" echoed strangely at the table. "I needed to apologize," Camilla said, her voice breaking. "To you, to him, to everyone I hurt. I know it doesn't change anything. I know it doesn't bring him back. But I need to carry this weight differently." Raphael remained silent for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, his voice came out softer. I spent a long time being angry with you, thinking you were selfish, a coward. But the truth is, we all deal with pain in different ways. You ran. I buried myself in work. We both failed Michael in some way. Camilla sobbed. Thank you for saying that. Marina watched the scene with a heavy heart. There was genuine pain there, but there was also danger. Hurt people could do unpredictable things when trying to redeem themselves. How are you now? Marina asked, finally speaking. Camilla looked at her, and for the first time, a faint smile appeared. Better. Not cured, but better. I'm working again, living on my own, trying to rebuild. That's good, Marina said sincerely. When they left the cafe an hour later, Raphael was visibly shaken. Marina held his hand the entire way home. Do you think she's being sincere? Raphael asked. I think she believes she is, Marina replied, but that doesn't mean she's ready to deal with everything. And she was right. 2 weeks later, Camilla showed up again, this time at their front door, unannounced. She brought a bouquet of flowers and a wrapped box. I brought a gift for the baby, she said, holding out the box. Marina looked at Raphael, uncertain. He nodded, and she invited Camilla in. The visit started calmly. Camilla admired the house, complimented the decor, asked about their routine. But when she saw little Michael in his crib, something in her expression changed. Can I hold him? She asked, her voice trembling. Marina hesitated. So did Raphael, but denying her seemed too cruel. You can, Raphael said. Camilla picked up the baby carefully, and for a moment just looked at him, tears streaming silently. He's beautiful, she whispered. So much like our Michael. It was then that Sophia entered the room, home from school. She stopped upon seeing the strange woman holding her brother. Who are you? She asked directly. Camilla looked at the girl. I'm Camilla. I was married to Raphael. Sophia frowned, processing. You're the mom of the Michael who passed away? Camilla swallowed hard. I am. Why didn't you come back when he needed you? The question, asked with the brutal innocence of a child, cut through the air like a knife. Sophia, Marina chided gently. But Camilla shook her head. No, she has a right to ask. The answer is that I wasn't strong enough, I failed him, and I'll carry that with me, forever. Sophia studied Camilla for a long moment. Then she nodded. My mom says everyone fails sometimes. The important thing is to try again. Camilla smiled through her tears. Your mother is very wise. After that day, Camilla's visits became more frequent. She would come on Saturdays, always bringing something, always trying to be helpful. Raphael allowed it, Marina tolerated it, but they both felt something was wrong. There was an intensity in Camilla's gaze when she held little Michael, a possessiveness that shouldn't be there. It was on a Thursday afternoon that the situation exploded. Marina was coming home from the market when she saw Camilla's car parked out front. She found it strange, as it wasn't a visiting day. She went inside and heard raised voices coming from the living room. Raphael, I'm just saying I can help more, Camilla was saying. I can take him during the week, give you guys a break. I know it must be tiring to care for a baby. It's not tiring, Raphael replied firmly. It's a joy, and we don't need help. But I'm his mother, by right. I carried him. I gave birth to him. I have rights. Marina entered the living room, dropping the grocery bags on the floor. What is she talking about, Raphael? Raphael looked exhausted. Camilla thinks she has a right to spend more time with Michael, that she should have some kind of shared custody. Marina felt her blood run cold. Camilla, with all due respect, you gave up any rights when you abandoned your son. This baby is my son and Raphael's. You have no legal connection to him. Camilla stood up, her eyes flashing with a dangerous emotion. You think you can replace me? You think because you adopted one child that gives you the right to steal my family? No one is stealing anything, Raphael intervened, stepping between them. Camilla, you need to leave, now. I'm going, Camilla said, grabbing her purse. But this isn't over. I have rights, and I'm going to fight for them. She slammed the door on her way out, leaving a tense silence behind. That night, Raphael and Marina talked late. Can she really do anything? Marina asked, fear in her voice. Legally, no. She signed away all her rights when we separated. But she can try to cause trouble. She can go to court, claim she was sick, that she deserves a second chance. And Sophia, is her adoption safe? Raphael hesitated. It's still in process. The final hearing is in 2 months. Marina felt panic rise. What if Camilla uses this against us? What if she claims we're not a stable family? It won't come to that, Raphael said, but his voice didn't sound convincing. And it didn't, but it came close. The following Monday, Raphael received a notice. Camilla had filed for custody of little Michael, claiming to be the biological mother and in a position to raise him. She also alleged that Raphael was in an unstable relationship with a woman of questionable background and that this was not a suitable environment for a child. Marina read the notice with trembling hands. She used the investigation report. She used my past against us. Raphael crumpled the paper, furious. She won't win. I won't let her. But the shadow of uncertainty hung over them all. The peace they had built was threatened once again, and this time by someone who knew their weak spots. Sophia sensed the tension. One night she came into Marina and Raphael's room holding the toy car. You're worried, she said. We are, Marina admitted, but we'll figure it out. Is it because of that woman, the one who was married to Uncle Raphael? It is. Sophia sat on the bed between them. The Michael who passed away taught me something. He said family isn't who gave birth to you. It's who stays when things get hard. Marina hugged her daughter, tears in her eyes. When did you get so wise? I always was, Sophia replied seriously. You guys just took a while to notice. Raphael laughed, despite the situation, and in that moment, looking at Marina and Sophia, he knew he would fight with everything he had, because this was his family, the one he chose, the one he built, the one that truly mattered. And no piece of paper, no notice, no threat was going to destroy that. But the fight was just beginning. The days that followed were filled with unbearable tension. Raphael hired the best lawyer he could find, a man named Dr. Evans, a specialist in family law. But even with all his experience, the news wasn't encouraging. The case is complicated, Dr. Evans explained in a tense meeting at his office. Camilla has biological rights, and the fact that she was treated for a medical condition could be viewed sympathetically by the judge. Furthermore, she's claiming she wasn't in a fit state to sign the waiver at the time, that she was coerced by the situation. That's a lie, Raphael exploded. She just walked out. I know, but we need proof. We need to show that you are the best option for the baby. And unfortunately, the investigation report on Marina could be used against you. Marina felt her stomach churn. So my past is going to destroy this family. Dr. Evans looked at her with compassion. Your past shows resilience, a woman who fled an abusive relationship to protect her daughter, a mother who worked hard to rebuild her life. We need to frame this positively. And Sophia's adoption? Raphael asked. Could that be affected? The lawyer hesitated. If the judge deems there's family instability, it could delay the decision. But we can't think about that now. Let's focus on one issue at a time. When they left the office, Marina was visibly shaken. Raphael, maybe it's better if I step away for a while until things are resolved. My presence is complicating everything. Raphael stopped in the middle of the sidewalk, holding her shoulders. Don't you ever say that again. You are the reason I survived losing Michael. You are Sophia's mother and little Michael's mother. You are my family, and family doesn't walk away. Marina hugged him, crying. But what if it's not enough? It will be. It has to be. But the universe seemed determined to test that certainty. 2 days later, Marina was at the supermarket with Sophia when she felt someone watching her. She turned and saw a man standing at the end of the aisle. Tall, dark hair, a hard expression. It took her a few seconds to recognize him, but when she did, Her legs felt weak. Tyler, the ex-partner who used to beat her, the man she had run from years ago, hiding in shelters and rented rooms, the nightmare she thought she had left behind. He approached with slow steps, a crooked smile on his lips. Marina, what a surprise. Marina pulled Sophia close, placing herself between her and Tyler. What do you want? Came to see my daughter, Tyler said, looking at Sophia. She's so big, doesn't even recognize me, does she? Princess? Sophia hid behind Marina, scared. Mom, who is he? No one important, Marina replied, her voice trembling. Let's go. She tried to walk past Tyler, but he blocked her path. Easy, Marina. No need to be scared. I just want to talk. We have nothing to talk about. You lost any right to us a long time ago. Tyler laughed, a bitter sound. That's what you think, but the law says otherwise. I'm her father. I have rights. Marina felt panic rise. You never wanted anything to do with her. You never paid child support. You never called to see if we were okay. Because you ran. You kept me from being a father. But now I found you. And I found out you're trying to let another man adopt my daughter. Marina's blood ran cold. How do you know that? Tyler smiled, victorious. I have my sources, and I'm here to tell you I'm not going to allow it. If you want this adoption so badly, you're going to have to negotiate with me. Marina trembled with rage. You want money? It wasn't a question. She knew Tyler well enough. I want what's fair, he said. After all, I'm giving up my daughter. That has a price. You're disgusting, and you're too smart to challenge me. Think about it, Marina. Either you give me what I want, or I'll go to court and complicate everything. I bet your new rich husband won't like his name being dragged into an ugly custody battle. He left before Marina could respond, leaving her shaking in the middle of the supermarket. When she got home, Raphael was in the living room, working. One look was all it took for him to see something was wrong. What happened? Marina sat down, clasping her, hands to stop them from shaking. Tyler. He showed up. He knows about the adoption. He's demanding money not to contest it. Raphael turned pale. How much? Marina swallowed hard. $50,000. It was an absurd amount. Raphael had money, but with Michael's medical debts, the new house, and the legal fees for the case against Camilla, it wouldn't be easy. I'll get it, Raphael said. But Marina saw the worry in his eyes. No, we're not giving in to blackmail. He has no real rights. He abandoned Sophia since she was born. Raphael ran his hands through his hair. But he can complicate the process. He can claim he wants to be a father now. And with everything already happening with Camilla, we can't risk it. So what do we do? It was Dr. Evans who suggested the solution, though neither of them liked it. Offer $20,000, he said. It's an amount that shows good faith, but it's not everything he wants. At the same time, document everything, record conversations, save messages. If he takes the money, we can use it to prove he never wanted to be a father, just to profit. Marina hated the idea of giving a single cent to Tyler. But for Sophia's safety, she agreed. The negotiation was tense. Tyler wanted more, but eventually accepted the $20,000 and signed a document relinquishing all rights to Sophia. Raphael insisted everything be done with witnesses and recorded. When Tyler was finally out of their lives, signature in hand, Marina felt a huge weight lift from her shoulders. But she knew the money spent would further complicate their financial situation. And the complications didn't stop there. Gloria, who had kept her distance since her grandson's funeral, reappeared. But this time, she didn't come with accusations or threats. She came with a proposal. I heard you're having problems, she said, sitting in Raphael's living room, with Camilla, with Sophia's biological father, and I know these battles are expensive. Raphael crossed his arms. If you've come to offer money in exchange for control, you can leave. Gloria sighed. I didn't come to offer money. I came to offer something better. Support. Marina, who was in the kitchen, stopped what she was doing to listen better. What kind of support? Raphael asked, suspicious. I can testify on your behalf. I can tell the judge that I saw the transformation Marina and Sophia brought to my grandson's life, that I saw little Michael being raised with love. My word carries weight. I have connections. Raphael studied his mother for a long moment. Why? Why the change of heart? Gloria looked down, and for the first time she seemed vulnerable. Because I lost my grandson, and I've spent the last few months thinking about my mistakes, about how my prejudice and arrogance made me miss precious moments with him. I don't want to make the same mistake with the new Michael or with Sophia. Marina appeared at the living room door. And what about me? Do you still think I'm unsuitable? Gloria looked at her. I think I was unfair. I saw where you came from and made assumptions. I didn't see your courage, your dedication, your love. My son chose you, and he was never one to make bad choices. It was the closest thing to an apology Gloria could manage. Raphael looked at Marina, who nodded slightly. All right, Raphael said. I accept your help. But that doesn't mean I'll tolerate interference. These children are mine and Marina's. Our decisions are our own. I understand and I respect that. Gloria's testimony was scheduled for the same week as the hearing for little Michael's custody. Dr. Evans was confident it would be a game changer. But the night before the hearing, Camilla made one last, desperate move. She showed up at their house, completely distraught. Marina opened the door and was shocked by the woman's state. Camilla's hair was disheveled, her eyes red, her clothes wrinkled. I can't take it anymore, Camilla said, walking in uninvited. I can't sleep. I keep thinking about Michael, about the baby, about everything I've lost. Raphael came downstairs upon hearing her voice. Camilla, you can't be here. Please, she begged. I just want to see him. Just one more time. I promise I'll drop everything after that. Marina and Raphael exchanged glances. Something was wrong. Something dangerous. Are you okay? Marina asked cautiously. I'm fine, Camilla said, but her hands were shaking. I just need to see him. Please. Against his better judgment, Raphael agreed. But stay down here. I'll go get him. He went up to the baby's room, leaving Marina alone with Camilla in the living room. The tension was palpable. You really hate me, don't you? Camilla said suddenly. Marina took a deep breath. I don't hate you, but I don't trust you, and I'm afraid of what you might do. Camilla laughed humorlessly. I'm scared too, of myself, of everything. Raphael came down with the baby in his arms. Camilla approached, reaching out, but Raphael hesitated. I just want to hold him, Camilla whispered. Just for a minute. Raphael handed over the baby, but stayed close, watching her every move. Camilla looked at little Michael, tears streaming silently. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm sorry for everything. And then, surprisingly, she gave the baby back to Raphael. I'm going to drop the case, she said. You're right, I'm not capable, not now, maybe never. Marina felt an immense relief wash over her. But I want one thing in return, Camilla continued. I want to be able to visit sometimes, not as a mother, but as a friend of the family. I want to see him grow up, even from a distance. Raphael looked at Marina, who nodded. You can visit, but with rules, scheduled in advance, respecting our boundaries. Camilla agreed. That's fair. When she left, Marina finally allowed herself to breathe. Is it over? She asked. Raphael hugged her. I think so. But they both knew they were only postponing the inevitable. The hearing would still happen, Sophia's adoption was still pending, and life, as always, had surprises in store. For now, though, they could rest. Just for one night. The morning of the hearing dawned grey over New York. Marina woke up before the alarm, her stomach churning with anxiety. Beside her, Raphael was also awake, staring at the ceiling. Couldn't sleep? She asked. Maybe 15 minutes, he replied with a tired smile. You? Even less. They lay there for a few minutes, just holding hands, gathering courage for the day ahead. The hearing was scheduled for 10 a.m. at the family court building. Dr. Evans would meet them there, and Gloria would also be present to testify. Camilla had sent a letter to the judge formalizing her withdrawal, but there were still technical issues to resolve. Sophia was strangely calm during breakfast. She ate her cereal in silence, watching the adults with her big, observant eyes. You're nervous, she said, not as a question but as a statement. We are, Marina admitted, but it's going to be okay. The Michael who passed away once told me that we only get nervous about things that really matter. So it's good to be nervous, it means we care. Raphael smiled despite the tension. When did he say that? One night before he passed. He was nervous about his new medicine. I asked him why, and he said that. I think he was right. Marina hugged her daughter, her eyes stinging. He really was. The courthouse was an imposing, cold, and intimidating building. Marina felt her legs tremble as she climbed the stairs. Raphael held her hand firmly, as if trying to transfer all his strength through that touch. Dr. Evans was waiting for them at the entrance with a folder full of documents. Remember, he said, be honest. Show the judge the love you have for these children, and trust the process. Gloria arrived a few minutes later, dressed impeccably, as always. But there was something different in her eyes, a softness that wasn't there before. Raphael, Marina, she greeted, nodding at Sophia with a discreet smile. Thank you for coming, Raphael said. It's the least I can do. The courtroom was smaller than Marina had imagined. The judge, Henry Taylor, was a middle-aged man with graying hair and a serious but not unkind expression. There was also a prosecutor, a representative from the state whose job was to ensure the best interests of the children. The hearing began with formalities. Dr. Evans presented all the documentation, including Camilla's withdrawal letter, Tyler's relinquishment papers, medical reports, and reports from social workers who had visited the home. Then it was time for the testimonies. Raphael went first. He spoke about losing Michael, about how Marina and Sophia brought light back into his life. He spoke about little Michael, about the love he felt for the baby, about how he couldn't imagine life without him. Marina was second. Her voice trembled at first but gained strength as she spoke. She told her story, about fleeing Tyler, about the hardships she faced, about how finding Raphael and this family was the first time she felt she truly belonged somewhere. I know my past isn't perfect, Marina said, looking directly at the judge. I know I've made mistakes, that I've been through difficult situations, but everything I did was to protect my daughter. And now I want to protect her even more. I want her to have a father, a complete family. I want little Michael to grow up knowing he is loved. Please give us that chance. The prosecutor asked a few questions, but they were fair, not hostile. It was clear she was there to ensure the children were safe, not to destroy the family. Then it was Gloria's turn. She stood with dignity, approached the witness stand, and when she began to speak, her voice was firm. Your Honor, I began this story as a woman full of prejudice. I saw Marina and judged her by her background. I saw Sophia and considered her unsuitable. I thought money and status were what mattered. She paused, taking a deep breath. But then I lost my grandson, the boy I loved more than anything, and in the last months of his life, the one who brought him joy, who made him smile, who made him feel it was worth fighting another day, wasn't the best doctors or the most expensive medicines. It was a 6-year-old girl from a poor background with a heart bigger than this entire courthouse. Marina felt tears stream down her face. Sophia, sitting beside her, squeezed her hand. I learned, Gloria continued, that family isn't measured by a last name or a bank account. It's measured by presence, by love, by sacrifice. And if there is a family in this room, it's the one Raphael and Marina have built. I ask your honor to recognize that, to give these children the right to be officially what they already are in their hearts. Beloved children. When Gloria returned to her seat, there were tears in her eyes. The judge made a few notes, then looked at Sophia. Sophia, do you understand what's happening here today? Sophia nodded. Yes, sir. You're deciding if Uncle Raphael can be my real dad. And you want that? I do. He's nice to me. He plays with me. He helps me with my homework. And he loves my mom. You can tell. And what about baby Michael? Do you see him as your brother? He is my brother. I take care of him. I sing to him. One day I'll tell him about the other Michael, the one who passed away, about how brave he was. So my brother can grow up to be brave too. The judge smiled for the first time. "Thank you, Sophia. You can return to your seat." The hearing was recessed for deliberation. The 2-hour wait felt like 2 years. Marina paced the hallway, unable to stand still. Raphael tried to look calm, but his hands were shaking. Gloria sat next to Sophia and, surprisingly, began talking to the girl about school, about books, about life. When they were called back in, Marina felt like her heart was going to explode. The judge read a long legal text that Marina could barely process, but then he got to the important part. Having reviewed all the facts, heard the testimonies, and considering primarily the best interests of the children involved, I grant the petitions in full. The permanent custody of the infant Michael Henry is granted to Raphael Thompson and Marina Silva Thompson. The adoption of Sophia Helena Silva by Raphael Thompson is finalized. I further order that the birth records of both children be amended to reflect the new parentage. Marina burst into tears. Raphael hugged her tightly, also crying. Sophia jumped from her chair, hugging them both. Even Gloria, always so composed, discreetly dabbed her eyes with a handkerchief. Dr. Evans smiled, satisfied. "Congratulations," he said. "You are now officially a family." Outside the courthouse, under a sky that was beginning to clear, revealing a shy blue between the clouds, the family gathered. Gloria approached Marina. "May I?" she asked, opening her arms. Marina hesitated for only a second before accepting the hug. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything. No, thank you, for giving me a second chance, for allowing me to be a part of my grandchildren's lives." The following weeks were pure bliss. The documents were filed, the new records issued. Sophia Helena Silva Thompson, Michael Henry Thompson, names that now carried all the legal legitimacy that love had already given them. Raphael proposed one quiet afternoon at home with no grand gestures. He just knelt in front of Marina, in the garden where the golden rain tree was beginning to bud, and asked if she wanted to be his real wife, on paper too. Marina said yes through her tears. The wedding was simple, a small ceremony at City Hall, with only their closest loved ones present: Gloria, Eleanor, Patricia, Dr. Evans, and a few friends. Sophia was the flower girl, proudly carrying little Michael in her arms. When the clerk declared Raphael and Marina husband and wife, Sophia yelled, "Finally!" making everyone laugh. Life went on, but now with a lightness they hadn't had before. Raphael cut back on his work hours to spend more time at home. Marina went back to school, taking a nursing course she had always dreamed of. Sophia started a new school, where she made friends and flourished. And little Michael grew strong and healthy, surrounded by love. Gloria became a constant but respectful presence. She took Sophia to the movies, offered to watch the baby when Raphael and Marina needed time alone, and participated in family celebrations without trying to control them. Camilla visited once a month, always, calling in advance. She brought small gifts, made small talk with Raphael, and watched little Michael from a distance. She never asked to hold him again. She seemed to understand her place, and over time, she found peace in it. It was on a September afternoon when the golden rain tree finally bloomed for the first time, filling the garden with yellow flowers, that Sophia made an observation that would be remembered forever. "Mum, Dad," she called, looking at the tree, "I think Michael is happy." Marina and Raphael, sitting on the bench under the tree, looked at their daughter. "Why do you think so?" Raphael asked. "Because he promised he would look after us, and look, his tree bloomed. It's like he's saying everything is okay, that we did the right thing." Marina smiled, holding Raphael's hand. "I think you're right." That night, when everyone else was asleep, Marina stayed awake for a few minutes, just watching her family. Raphael beside her, breathing deeply. Little Michael in his crib, his fists clenched, dreaming whatever it is that babies dream of. And Sophia in the next room, still holding the toy car she never let go of. She thought about everything they had been through. The pain, the fear, the uncertainty. But she also thought about the courage, the love, the persistence. And she understood that this was her greatest victory, not getting a big house, or money, or status, but building a true family where everyone belonged, where everyone was loved. where the past didn't define the future. Outside, the wind rustled the flowers of the golden rain tree, scattering yellow petals across the garden. And Marina, finally, allowed herself to believe that tomorrow would be good. Because she had everything she needed. She had love. She had family. She had a home. And that, she discovered, was everything. Dear listeners, the journey of Marina, Raphael, Sophia, and Michael has taught us that true love overcomes all barriers. If this story touched your heart, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share in the comments which moment moved you the most. Every day we bring you stories that celebrate the strength of family, the courage to start over, and the transformative power of love. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. Until the next episode.